what's up? Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. I'm your host, Pat. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Pat. We're listening to Rest in Pieces right now. If you're not familiar with this bad boy, it is great late 80s, early 90s New York hardcore record. Members of Sick of It All, Straight Ahead, Agnostic Front. Armand from Sick of It All sings. Craig Ahead on bass. A little bit more rock, metal kind of based sounding than their first album, My Rage. A lot more like mid-paced kind of hooks going on. There's slide guitar on one song. Fucking unique record. I didn't like it the first time I heard it many moons ago, but it's kind of crept up there as one of my favorite records from the era. And that's what's going to be playing, if you can hear it at all. We'll see. I got to go with a new location, I think, so maybe the music plays in the background a little better. Anyways, so I got a bunch of shit in the mail from Painkiller Records. Most of the stuff that I ordered was new wave of British hardcore shit from Quality Control HQ, a great label out of the UK. And I'm going to get into it in just a second. To give you a little info on the new wave of British hardcore, Jason Hooks talked about it a bit. It's a new crop of bands. There's a bunch. They're all kind of incestuous. A lot of them share members. They're from all over the UK. Generally, the music's based in, I'd say, American hardcore from the early to late 80s. There's bands that kind of lean towards the Youth Crew side of things, like True Vision. There's bands that go a little more towards the beginning of the decade sound-wise, but weave in all kinds of other stuff than just your typical three-chord DC or Boston or New York hardcore kind of stuff. What's really great about a lot of the bands is they kind of involved a lot of UK influences, Oi, UK 82 stuff. Voorhees seems to be a big influence on a lot of them, who are a great hardcore band from the 90s that were playing fast hardcore when a lot of bands weren't, especially from that area. Of course, you know, the UK hardcore thing has been going on forever. Arguably, you can say it dates back to Discharge, you know, and definitely bands kind of taking on more of a US influence from hardcore probably started with Heresy and Ripcord and all that stuff. So I'm a fan of all that. There's also a lot of bands that were around in the 90s and 2000s that took more of the metallic, harder, kind of moshier sound of hardcore, like Stampin' Ground, Knuckle Dust, that kind of thing. That stuff isn't so much my bag, but I like it whenever I listen to it. I'm sure I'm due to give that the treatment at some point and buy a bunch of those records, because I like that kind of shit too. So anyway, my interest in this stuff started when it kind of started gaining a little bit of speed, a little bit of traction about 4 years ago. Violent Reaction played the States a couple times. One of the times was with the Flex, and both bands really impressed me. The Flex, I think, are still going. Violent Reaction is done. They have a side project band that involves both members called Arms Race, who are fucking great and have some of the meanest, growliest fucking just oi kind of hardcore vocals that I've heard in a long time. So those are the bands that got me initially interested in it. Out of nowhere, I just kind of stumbled across somebody posting on Facebook. It might have been Ola, who runs the Quality Control label. And I was like, oh yeah, I gotta check back in with the new wave of British hardcore. So I ordered a bunch of shit from Painkiller. Most of these are from that label, and then I got one US release that I'll tack on the end. But let's go. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. First up, we got Imposter. This band's from Brighton, UK. This is the shell. Little labels there. Got a little J card to show you. Not much to it. Just the cover art there. Very cool. Kind of reminds me of Raymond Pettibone art a little bit. Nothing on the other side. Fucking vicious hardcore. As you may expect from my ramble a moment ago, it is sort of early 80s kind of sounding stuff. Also kind of brings to mind bands from the 2000s that sort of reinvigorated that sound and added a few things. I've mentioned 86 Mentality before, and I feel like they're kind of the litmus test comparison band for a lot of good shit that's kind of oi-inspired and hardcore-ish. You know, certainly any bands with negative as the prefix you could throw in there. The tempo variation on this Imposter is a little bit more varied, maybe, I guess. There's a lot more, like, sick busts, mid-paced, stompy kind of parts, those kind of floor tom rolls that make people two-step, that kind of beat. Really good, nasty, hard stuff, kind of growled, gruff vocals. Then we got Vile Spirit. Basic, raw, fast, hardcore punk as well, but drenched in a lot more feedback than the aforementioned. A little bit of noisiness, guitar experimentation and fucking around. Really, really fucking tortured vocalist. Guy sounds like he's being tortured. Very pained. I can't think of too many hardcore vocalists that go this hard as far as just genuinely sounding fucked up and crazy. Maybe the guy from Die Kreutzen, United Mutation, that dude a little bit, but he doesn't sound like either of those guys, just on Maniac level. He's up there. But yeah, really, really twisted, pained, fast, scrappy, noisy hardcore. Might as well show you the little insert we got here, since I'm getting it out anyway. Vile Spirit on Quality Control. Then a band that I'm all in for. As soon as I checked out one track, I wanted everything. Thankfully for my wallet, they only have pretty much 2 releases. This is 2 on 1, so it's kind of cheating, but this is Big Cheese, who I think are from Manchester, UK. This is a radio set and their first demo, live on WOBHC FM from 2018, and the Sports Day demo from 2016. Nice yellow cassette with stickers. Then we got the J card there. Very well put together, very nice. DIY, but not crap. Andy Fletcher, this guy who did the cover art. He also did the cover art for this 7-inch Aggravated Mopery, which is the other release I picked up. And, I mean, it's limited, what they've recorded so far, but it's all brilliant. Being such a nut that I am for late 80s New York hardcore stuff, this almost sounds like everything I like from all those comps that came out in the late 80s, notably The Way It Is comp on Rev, the Wild Things Are comp on Blackout, and the New Breed comp. Just taking elements from all these bands, creating something fresh with it. The vocals are a dead ringer for Jeff Perlin from Breakdown, which is not an easy feat. Even the production, especially on the 7-inch, the 7-inch produced by Don Fury, or mixed by Don Fury, everything sounds perfect. It's not a rip-off or a worship of one band in particular. You can tell that they're just passionate about this type of music. There's certainly the breakdown thing going on, but there's a little bit of like Absolution melodicism. There's kind of that verging on like thrash metal, but more of a groove kind of thing that a lot of those bands had. You can hear Outburst, you can hear Warzone, all that stuff. If you like New York hardcore, and the whole New York hardcore worship thing has been around for quite a while now, probably starting directly after that era ended, but more notably ramping up early 2000s with No Warning and bands of that ilk, and then shortly thereafter with Mental and bands like that. It's hard to impress me with anything new coming from that sort of angle, honoring those great old bands, and they really, really, really blew me out of the water. So, big ups. So we got artwork there by Andy Fletcher. He's done artwork for a lot of bands, especially around here in Boston. He's done artwork for Hammer and the Nails. He's done artwork for Foreseen from Finland. All kinds of bands, lots more, lots of flyer art. Really cool shit. Well, he has a band with one of the guys from Painkiller Records, Cooch. A band called Burden. This is a 4-song 7-inch on Neutral Accents Records. And this is great hardcore influenced Oi influenced hardcore. Call it what you want. Gruff, shouted Oi kind of vocals. Definitely if you are a fan of the Templars, if you're a fan of Hammer and the Nails, if you're a fan of any sort of current Oi band that involves a lot more musicianship, You know, there's a little bit more like triumphant sort of melodicism going on, I feel like, on this. Certainly Battle Ruins, that kind of stuff. Definitely check out Burden. Saw them once. It was one of their first shows. They opened that Battle Ruins gig that I went to over a year ago. They were great. This band is fucking awesome. He did the artwork for this as well, I should throw out there. But yeah, very cool, defined, like, almost like stippled artwork. It almost kind of reminds me of Kevin Crowley's art for The Abused. And then finally, we have Unjust. Don't remember off the top of my head where these guys are from in the UK, but they're another British hardcore band. This borrows a little bit more from the later end of the 80s, I'd say. This is really intricate packaging. Let me just pull this out for you. Really cool live shot. Vocalist going off there. As you can see, he's wearing an Integrity shirt. And I feel like the Clevo influence is strong on this. Not so much in the demonic, metallic kind of influence like Ringworm and Integrity, but more so along the lines of Confront, maybe One Life Crew. You know, it takes that sort of a Youth Crew influence and almost driving it into power violence territory, but not quite. You know, Proclamation from Boston, little known band, not the war metal band. Kind of sounds like them a little bit, but going back and forth between really punishing, kind of busts, slow parts, mosh parts, and hyper fast drumming. Really pissed off, fucking shouted vocals, as you would expect. Great layout. I'm a big fan of Schism font. Schism fanzine style font, which is all over this. And it's fucking really good. It's a ripper. So short update. I'm probably going to shoot another one later this weekend or later this afternoon, but that's going to be all metal. I wanted to keep things kind of compartmentalized. I should also throw out there that this comes on a nice blue vinyl before I get out of here. Unjust. Well, have a good weekend, everybody. I will see you guys soon. Later.